I think as judges we wanted to genuinely look at a next generation and see what was actually happening. We know that at the moment there are marvellous things happening in poetry. We think that poetry is in a good place, as they say, and so we wanted to choose 20 poets who represented that good place. This is the Gala Celebration of the Next Generation Poets 2014. The poets have been touring for the last several months to 23 different venues. And tonight is the culmination of that.
Oh, that thou teach even me, I who abhor truth, the stubborn bloodhound, worth 3 hairbrushes, if that. No, hydrogenated fats. No, enhanced formaldehyde. What shorthand thunderbolt could halt my hibernation and dog thirsts? The unabridged refrigerator, the unnoted cheeseboard, ha. Shortlist me with the redundant heathens, half my covenant with toothache, foot the noun, whatever it takes. Lord have mercy, Gospodi pomilui, Kyrie eleison.
The next poem brings together that classic combination of physics and mashed potato. Heliocentric cosmology. Got what? Asked my husband through a mouthful of mashed potato. I was at home with my husband, eating mashed potato. 2 minuscule but unequal balls of mashed potato dropped from his mouth onto the mashed potato. It was like when Galileo dropped balls of the same material, but different masses from the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Except Galileo didn't use his mouth or mashed potato.
I wouldn't swear to it, but it seems to me that light owns the surfaces of things, dotting them indiscriminately with its capricious particles. Pock, 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 pock. Each is a paintball pellet, which, on splatting, contributes to colour up the ravenous darkness, rendering it fit for purpose, that purpose being to be seen.
I found the performance absolutely brilliant tonight. It's just something that, it was a flow of poetry that just washed over you, and so unexpected because I don't really know who the poets are, and it was really interesting to find out who's doing what, who's on the scene, who's current, what they've done.
This morning, the romance of the world washed over me. My heart swelled with positive feelings, not edema. The forklift out the window beeped, "I love you," in Morse code. A curious pigeon molested my bird-feeding contraption. I pined longingly for my absent biscuits, which had been eaten last week. Even the unfriendly cat sensed the fragility of the moment and refrained from licking its bits. How sweet it was to breathe the sausage-scented air and feel the throb of the washing machine like a second heart, keeping me true. In the garden, a host of petunias dangled and waved their skinny limbs.
The room that isn't there. Sometimes I dream I'm in a room that isn't there. The many years I've lived here and not noticed it before. An unexpected boon, such blessed emptiness. It's going to change my life. What shall I use it for? And grey the morning comes, I wake. The rooms are as they were, each one with its function and its mess. And all this time, it dwells behind the door, a simulacrum of my mind, my womb, my unlived life, my life to come.
The unexceptional mystery takes place. Around 11, love turns to matter, Dad dead. The ward grows and shrinks, early spring breaking promises through the glass. Dad's untoothed mouth gawps, and its last "oh" holds one darkness, dark of a worked out, abandoned mine.
I could never, ever imagine reading all these poems, but hearing them spoken and the way they're each introduced so beautifully, it just captures their lives in a few minutes, and you just feel like, it's just this incredible theater.
I listened to Nina through the wild old blizzard shedding its coat. Snow sticking to my real eyelashes, my thoughts curled up at the edges. And I'm walking, and you're talking to me, though you're not there, not anywhere. I see two women I used to know who's sour and don't smile at me. Lifetimes charge into me with the maddening, gathering gale. I am not safe in my own heart. I pull my fur hood down and carry my 2 shopping bags filled with boxes of pre-packed fruit.
Mining. I let socks dot the washing, coats grace a chair's arm. Her hospital bag, too hard to unpack, stayed slumped and ignored, but eventually there was a gathering, the limp outline of her sighs carried upstairs. It accumulated in the cot, a cold pit of pajamas, dresses, jeans, my heap of her, visible through bars. Insides of sleeves brushed with her cells, last flecks compacting in pastel matter until her father found me, fretting at its edge, suggested it was time for the careful mining of her things.
A King's Invocation at the Globe Theatre spins me from my stand to a time when boyish bravado and cannonade and plunder were enough to woo the regal seat. That the stuff of Elizabethan art and a nation of walled gardens in a local one-upmanship would tame the four-cornered world for empire's dominion seems inconceivable. Between the birth and the fire and rebirth of the globe, the visions of Albion led to a rural Britannia of trade winds and Gulf Stream all-conquering fleets that aroused theatres for lectures on Hottentots and craniology, whilst Eden was paraded in Kew.
For 40 years, I have had in my possession a notebook, Morocco-bound and blue in colour, which was so small it could be covered over by a thumb. I found it at the bottom of her apron pocket. And for 40 years I have had in my throat the rotten apple of Mordovia, which for 40 years I could not swallow.
My father liked the blues and Lady Day. He left Jamaica way before the reggae rocked all night in backstreet studios, before King Tubby or Augustus Pablo. But I used to love a boy who loved thick lugs of ganja, loved dub reggae, loved on Sunday nights to cross the river and take me to the House of Roots and Abashanti in the cobbled arches under Vauxhall, where the Lion of Judah decked the walls and stacks of speakers pumped electric bass, a single bulb above the smoky haze. And on the stage, a little dreadlocked man like a Rumpelstiltskin shouted "Jah" and spun his blistering tunes over a single turntable.
I keep the queen she is long in my hand, her legs slightly pliant, folded, dropped down wings flat that flew her mating flight to the sun and back. Full of spermatozoa, drone song. She was made mechanically ecstatic. I magnify what she is, magnify her skews and centers. How downy she is, fur like a fox's grayness, like a thistle's mane. Wings perfect, abdomen subtle in shades of brittle. Her rear legs are big in the lens.
I stood at the dangerous shore, sleeves rolled up to my shoulders. My fringe lifted in the wind in a long salute, and I pushed it back. Live your wish, said the sea.
At 70, our dance mistress could still perform a perfect pas de chat. Her French was wasted in the north. We stood in line repeating pas de chat, or sniggered as she waited in the wings, her right hand beating time against her hip, her eyes avoiding ours.
Open a new window. Go on and Google yourself. Open Facebook and update all trace of yourself. While you search MySpace, sync your apps, correct a wiki, blah, blah on your blog, tweet and stream. You see, such and such has got in touch, requesting you as a Facebook friend.
When you look at the list of the previous two selections, the New Generation and the First Next Generation, and you see what's happened to those poets and how they've become sort of mainstays of British poetry, it's so exciting to see these poets at the beginning of their careers and think where they're going to be in 10, 20 years' time.